Hey everyone, it's Vince12 signing in again, and welcome to part 2 of Jacko the Very, Very Bad Clown.
hmm
This son of a bitch.
It's uh, it's actually not terrible so far.
No, we've been just taking a piss out of it lately, just for the sake of taking a piss out of it, but, from what we're reading so far, this is a step above most of the usual garbage I usually read. Although, I have to say, the times where I have read good stories on this channel, like, I've read two good stories, one with you and the other one by myself. One was called The Neck. And this
Yeah.
one, and what was the other one? It was about that home invasion thing? Or that
Oh
guy
yeah,
breaking. And
it was the
both of those
creepy pasta
recordings
that
fucked up,
had
or I
nothing.
deleted them by accident.
It was the creepy pasta that had no actual supernatural elements whatsoever.
It did kind of hint at it with a little bit, just a little bit.
Like I think there was something about red eyes or something, but it didn't play into the actual narrative of the story at all.
Yeah, and that's what I like horror stories that are ground down in reality because, there's always that it can happen to me factor in it.
Well, I like it once in a while.
Supernatural horror is
And what was
just simply harder to do, and you have to. But oddly enough, I don't think people understand the supernatural aspect is just should only be used as a backdrop to whatever actual frightening thing is being presented.
when you're writing now? Obviously, if you're doing a television show, video game, something like that, you can play up the supernatural elements more to have an effect on your audience.
Yeah, like anything that what was that name with it? I can't remember that one. He made No More Heroes and Lollipop Chainsaw.
Oh, Suda 51.
Yeah, that crack addict.
Oh, I love his game. Seriously, I do. The uh, the haunted chapter of No More Heroes 2, surprisingly creepy.
That and like I want to see him directly make. I want to see him make a horror game with Kojima.
Oh yeah.
That would just be like the trippiest symbolic thing in the history of symbolism.
Also, by the way, Metal Gear Solid 5 is great. Anybody in the audience who has like a PS4 or Xbone, go out and buy it.
That
Uh,
sounds lewd.
no, I've been getting through every enemy checkpoint by using tactics. No shit, I picked up from watching A Team.
Well, doesn't A Team isn't A Team basically shoot until our we have nothing but blanks left?
No, exactly. That's the thing, because you there is an unlisted score called Demon Score,
Mm-hmm.
where if you kill X amount of soldiers or animals or blow up enough nuclear warheads, Snake becomes more and more demonic looking, and it may or may not have an effect on the story. So the way to go through the game properly is to do it, stealthily, tranquilize
Hmm.
people, stun them, kidnap them. Yes, you get hero points and reduce your demon score for kidnapping people and brainwashing them, making them join your forces.
Well, there's no such thing as clean war. Come on.
Well, right. So I've been doing A team tactics like flipping vehicles instead of just destroying them, firing guns into the air to
You know
attract
what?
attention, press enemies.
You know what? No, A Team Tactics is drugging Mr. T so he can get on the plane.
Actually, I do that too, except I tase people and then throw the back of a helicopter.
Okay, let's get back to the story because
Okay.
we're like 4 minutes in. We were.
The clowns would perform lots of amazing
Yeah,
stunts,
basically, Jacko was complaining about how bratty kids could be.
despite the fact that he was an abused child. He still hates the children instead of
No, the
you think.
idea. No, basically, the idea is that he doesn't like how they don't appreciate how good their parents are.
Right, is different, but usually in this kind of circumstance, wouldn't you expect the clown to be like almost a merciless killer of abusive parents and a defender regardless?
I hate that because like I don't know if you know I covered what was it, Mr. Angry Dog stories,
hmm
and that's the guy who wrote Jane the Virgin. And I know
And
I
laughing Jack, right?
no, that's Snuff Bomb. That's a whole different can of worms. I hate that guy so much. But
Different guy.
but yeah, with laughing like no Mr. Angry Dog seems to be like the polar opposite of Snuff Bomb. He goes out of his way to make his characters absolutely in the right, even though we're supposed to be afraid of them. Like they have objective morals where this person kills you if you don't appreciate how good your life is, or this person kills you if you're a rapist or a child molester. And it's like, well, then I know I'm safe, so why should I be afraid?
Right. Um,
And it's a thing.
but
And the thing is, when you have to, I even said in my video, if you are interested in the creepypasta community and you just like it from the aesthetic standpoint, the fan art and whatnot, that's fine. But you shouldn't put this stuff up and think and call it creepypasta because you're not even trying to frighten anyone. You're going out of your way to do the opposite.
you're actually writing kind of like a revenge action story instead of a horror story.
It was one that was deliberate, like exactly that. It was like this girl. There was a broadcast situation where, and it's one of those stories where Brock. It's kind of like what's it, the, well, what was it, there was Max Headroom broadcast. Remember that?
Oh yeah, that was great.
That was creepy as fuck. And
Loved it.
it wrote a creepypasta that was basically that idea, and it was like a girl who overly descriptive, which Mary Sue character, and she's like, yeah, there was a rapist on the news, and she was talking to the audience. The rapist on the news, insert name here. I was disgusted by what he did. It was basically him ranting about how much he hates how people, rapists get away with stuff like that, and
Hmm.
it's like, this is a horror story, dude. And you're supposed to be writing this as an event that actually happened. So a ghost
Right.
appeared on the news, ranted about rape, and then killed one.
Um,
Okay. Okay.
now again, I I appreciate he's trying to send a message, and express something. That's good. Like you want to go against a revenge story. It's hard to find someone less sympathetic than a rapist. But I think I don't think I
Hitler.
know. There, there's a better way to actually to frame that within a horror framework. It would take a bit more work, like actual plot development and maybe some character development.
I can't remember what it was. It was I can't remember his name. It was but there was a author that's when I was talking to Lowell Skellingtons, he directed me to, and he said he was like an example that he was an admin on the site, but was known for pretty much making good stories. And there was one story I read of his that was like the point of view of an obsessed stalker,
Hmm.
and we go like pretty much listening to him and going on about how great this girl was, and he keeps slipping more and more off the deep end. And at the end of the story is a subversion where he's describing going into her house, like basically breaking into her house, and how happy he'll be living with her. And he quit his job, and the police will look for him. But the girl's up worse than he is.
Hmm.
Like he finds like the body of some guy she was mercilessly torturing for a sec to get off in her basement, and he gets captured too.
Okay.
It's like there's a thing where it's subversive, where yeah, the person we're following is an objective nutcase, but yeah, it's a matter of playing with that and actually using that in a context that can be seen as unnerving or horrifying. When I look at Slime Beast, it's like no, there is no shades of gray. Everything is just black and white. Not
Yeah.
Slime Beast.
Angry.
Fucking Mr. Angry Dog. That was a Freudian slip considering the whole Slime Beast. Like Slime Beast is kind of upset with bad creepypasta again.
We, we've been having quite a few like PR dealies recently, haven't we?
Oh well, I don't really, I don't get myself involved in them. Although,
No.
if Slime Beast,
Oh,
on the extremely off chance that Slime Beast is listening, my invitation is still out there. Just come on to my podcast. It's not, I'm not coming on to make fun of you or anything like that. I legitimately just want to have a decent conversation and, get your side or on some things and ask you about some of your works. Basically, the same thing I did with because Law Skellingtons was like the enemy of bad creepypasta,
hmm.
like our crew, and believe it or not, it was the whole dealings with Snuff Bomb, of all people, that kind of convinced me to give this guy a chance and hear this side of the story because I saw how absolutely butthurt and deranged Snuff Bomb's fans were about the fact that Laughing Jack was removed from the wiki.
Oh wow.
So I decided, I'm gonna get Law Skeleton's perspective on this, and The funny thing is, like, he answered every single one of my questions, including the Laughing Jack ones. I didn't post those up because those were just between me and him. But basically, he didn't give a shit about Laughing Jack or fucking Snuff Bomb in general.
Hmm.
Like, basically, like, yeah, whatever. Like, they're not the first person to get upset with me because I deleted something. Like, basically, like, you don't get special privileges just because your story is quote popular.
Oh, wait, you might want to keep reading the rest of this
Oh
paragraph,
yeah,
dude.
yeah. Fuck.
No, no, no. I mean, things actually get pretty interesting here.
The clowns will perform lots of amazing stunts and spectacular tricks to. I've been staring at a light too long and it's messing with my eyes a bit. Tricks to all the people who came to the circus. They leaped from great heights, walked on tight ropes, juggled dangerous objects, drove go-karts at high speeds, balanced themselves on balls and unicycles, shot themselves from cannons, or even set themselves on fire each time. You know, every time I see juggle, the word juggle, I immediately think of Insane Clown Posse Juggalos.
You know, actually, if they can really do all these things, it sounds a bit like they're actually the Clown League of America.
League of America.
But
Oh,
let me tell you what. Nobody likes fucking Aqua Clown.
oh, fuck you! I love Aqua Clown. I get tired of that's like, oh, because he was so bad, and who takes like Justice League of America seriously to begin with anyway?
No, no, no. Let me help you out. To be real, I actually do like Aquaman as a superhero. I'm talking about Aqua Clown because you see, he can only command and communicate with clownfish.
Ah, didn't Joker make Jokerfish one time?
I think he
Can he
did, yeah.
communicate with those two?
No, no, because they're in tune to the dark side of the clown force.
Ah, but they've got my beautiful face. Even Colonel What's his name has owns fried chicken, and they don't even have mustaches. I love that line. Uncle Uncle Woody told Jacko that Uncle Woody told Jacko they could do this because clowns were like cartoons. They could do things no one else could do because they could never be hurt. I beg to differ. That's horrible.
I I learned that is not true in Dead Rising. Actually,
Oh, you talking about the clown with the chainsaws?
yep.
I learned that was true in Dropsy. The guy has feelings too, you know. You could burn them, crush them, flatten them like pancakes, stab them, shoot them, and they'd always get right back up and come for more. That sounds like a threat.
No, I'm gonna be perfectly honest. This is pretty good foreshadowing if they come back to this later in the story.
Earl Grey tea. Delicious.
Also, are you sure that your clowns aren't just the living dead?
Well, flatten them and they could. Well, maybe they're Pegasus's Tomb World monsters that just came to life.
Or maybe they're like origami golems?
That is that. Okay, I'm adding that to my long list of band names that should be made. Let me see.
Origami golems?
Origami golems. I have laser turrets. Uh, Suburban Space Station. And I stole one from Markiplier, Tea Party of the Dead.
Uh,
Let me see, one night, Jacko was upset after having a particularly bad day at the circus. What's a particularly... oh god, that must have been awful. The way they described it is like, god, those hoodlums came in with guns and hashtags and spraying up the place with thug life signs and whatnot.
throwing their Uggs everywhere.
This is the last time we go to the ghetto for the circus. You try to do one nice thing for these guys, and they just don't appreciate it. Going to the ghetto hood, they roll up on a clown that's saying, it's like, yo boy, what clown you roll with?
No, see, the problem is they were on the other circus's turf.
Like, okay, in this world, clowns are a mob gang, a boss,
Yeah.
and I say, okay, mimes in this universe should be the triad.
Yes,
Because
Chinese mimes.
okay, I'm adding that to the list of great band names too. They were they were in a rough town. Oh, I was right. They were in a rough town, and all the people there were really mean. They cussed, they threw things, they fought with each other, they booed at the performance, they littered, and they hardly ever laughed. Now that last one is a problem.
No, no. They beat the shit out of each other, swore at the performers, threw things at the performers, and they littered. No, but wait a minute. All these things, like this audience that is apparently like on some kind of bath salts,
Yeah,
isn't that exactly what Jacko described as a normal day at the circus a few paragraphs up?
I think it was just more of it than usual, maybe. I don't know. Just like I'm reading that sentence, like, oh, Adolf Hitler, crimes against humanity, attempts at genocide, and an overdue lottery, library book.
No, but so I have to imagine maybe it's something like out of Sly Cooper 2 where they have these folks all hopped up on spice.
I haven't played any of the Slice Cooper games,
Oh,
honestly.
basically, it's a rage drug.
So, like most drugs, no, I don't know shit about drugs. I just know
Okay,
they ain't. I just know that Sonic tells me they're no good.
okay. So last time we checked, this was still the WWC out in the audience.
Yeah. No, uh, it's CZW, and only my real wrestling fans are gonna get that. But then again, only no real wrestling fan watches CZW. Burn.
Okay.
Let me put it to CZW. This is just going from my description. You remember ECW, right?
Yeah.
Imagine that worse wrestling toppled with worse talent.
Ooh.
Yeah, basically. And basically it's all garbage wrestling where they just hit each other as hard as they can, use staples and weed whackers on each other.
What?
Yeah, and power bombing themselves off of like trucks onto tables with fluorescent light bulbs.
I'm sorry. Now I'm just picturing this going on in the big top while they're trying to perform.
Well, he did say that they just bounce back from everything.
No, no, no. I mean the audience.
Uh, yeah, like
Like,
they're trying to set up bad wrestling matches in the audience. That would be a problem.
yeah, no, like they're performing. There's a fat drunk guy like going through the crowd with a chainsaw.
Oh, god damn it! I hate when that happens.
Just no, somebody else just backs their truck through one of the walls of the tent. Two guys get out, firing machine guns into the crowd.
Yeah, just another day in the big top, man. Jacko really hated them. Uncle Woody said, "Good clowns never hate," but Jacko wasn't a good clown, and he knew it. Uncle Woody said, "Oh, I love loopholes." Uncle Woody always said that good clowns never drink or smoke, but Jacko knew he wasn't a good clown, and he was always very sad. He felt like he needed to drink or smoke just to get through the day. You know, maybe those things are why you're not a good clown. I'm not.
No, this really stereotype of the sad clown we used back part one.
You're gonna listen to Jacko's story. It's basically Krusty the Clown, the circus, except more violent. Well, then again, just Krusty the Clown, I guess.
Hey kid, go get Jacko's Jaeger for him, would
I think I skipped ahead by accident. I am recording this. I'm trying something new where I'm recording the screen as we're reading,
Oh,
so
wow.
people can read along if they want.
Oh,
They're
that's
prob
cool.
they're probably getting really frustrated. They're reading like, okay, asshole, keep going. Except all these bad jokes. Let me see, where were we? Let's make a drink. Jacko had just finished drinking and he was feeling a bit woozy. He was walking back to the big top so he could lay down and fall back asleep. It was
Wait, wait, back asleep? So, like, he woke up in the middle of the night just to go get drunk.
sounds like the average middleman to me.
Uh, Damn, the circus is sad.
Well, what else did you think it was?
Apparently a battle royale.
I'm not paying for that pay-per-view. That was a cold. It was cold that night, and Jacko was wearing a red bomber jacket over his usual red suit. Well, it was like the clown version of Suge Knight. Well, then again, just Suge Knight. I yeah I I'm not fond of that man.
Well, he seems to have something in common with the clown mafia.
What, dangling vanilla ice out of a 20-story window?
No, that people who cross them tend to disappear.
Well, disappear and reappear with bullet holes in them.
Right, right. Well, no, if you cross the clown mafia, you disappear and you reappear with like a mysteriously sharp balloon animal thrust through your abdominal cavity.
And a wedgie that rides so fast, like it pretty much swallows your underwear, swallows you whole essentially. But that was we got clown bullies too.
Yeah,
Well, I want
terrible.
to see like in clown college, what is their version of bullies?
I don't know. Maybe folks who
Like they go to dorm and their version of pranking you. You wake up and all your face paint's gone.
perfect.
But just that moment, Jacko heard something horrible happening on the circus grounds. He heard a woman crying and screaming for help, and a man yelling at her.
Oh no.
Jacko rushed over to find a horrible sight. There was a dirty man with a nasty beard pinning a woman to the ground and hitting her. He was screaming the most awful things and swearing and smacking her really hard. It was a horrible thing for Jacko to see. It reminded him how his father used to beat his mother right in front of him. How he would smack her and scream at her and tell her she's worthless. It made him so sick. And that
Again, I'm not going to make any big jokes here because abuse is a very serious thing, and this is actually some pretty hard hitting stuff here. And it does throw back to some of our established character development.
as
So
long as it doesn't go to like I typically don't. It's the same reason that I stopped reading Mr. Snuff Bomb's garbage.
mhm.
It because like I don't know if you read like the origin of Laughing Jack, but there are multiple paragraphs dedicated to detailed descriptions of torturing and raping people.
Yeah, and see, here's the thing. Those are, yeah, those are the two things I really don't want to read about. Sorry, don't, because that those are real things that happen to real people every single day.
That
And
here's the thing. I think that's where we differ on that. So like, it's
and,
not the
and
fact that
I'm
okay.
not saying totally. I'm saying I believe like what you meant to the point to where it's excessive and has absolutely no connection to any type of story or character
It
development.
comes off as the author just pretty much doing it for the sake of it's what interests him, and
Or
that's and
edgy.
and considering what Snuffbomb what's been accused of,
Yeah.
it doesn't help his case.
No, it does not.
And I'm not saying he's guilty of it, but I'm saying that it doesn't help my perception of what he's done.
It's a bit like how after his big trial, R. Kelly released a single called Number One.
Pretty much. I don't know.
Which, again, keep in mind, do you really want to be accused of what R. Kelly was accused of when you're known for being the sex guy?
To be fair, like I think we were talking about that on one of Jacob's old live streams. We were talking about yeah, you were there too. We were talking about who's worse, Chris Brown or R. Kelly, and we would say we disagree with Jacob when he said R. Kelly because the
Well, well, in terms of what he was arrested for, I'd agree, but I think now I didn't double check. I think they said R. Kelly had like a bunch of photos that were like child pornography as well.
okay, never mind.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
okay, it's an accusation. So he deserves a fair trial and
Well, I mean, the cops found him. I think
back to the
so.
story. He rushed. Okay, how? Excuse me. In that moment, he didn't just see a man hitting a woman. He saw his mother crying on the ground and begging for help. When he looked at the man, he didn't just see his father. He saw every bad guest who ever came to the circuit. Well, I think your father's worse. Just
Uh,
saying. Like, oh, those assholes who litter are the same as my dad who beat the shit out of my mom.
Speaking of which, look at what comes next.
He saw every bad child, every rude teenager, every drunken adult, all the people who used naughty words, all the people who booed at his friends, all the people who threw things, every single person who littered and screamed, everyone. He hated that man more than he ever hated anyone in his life.
All right, so he sees a very triggering scene of fairly horrific abuse, and it snaps, and makes sense.
Better than being beaten up and have his skin bleached by bleach and fire.
Much better.
It was at that moment that the man reached into his jacket and pulled out a large knife. Jacko didn't know what the man was going to do, but he didn't want to find out. So at that moment, Jacko did what he always wished he could have done as a child, stepped in and stopped the man. The man took one look at Jacko and screamed. He was afraid of clowns. Uh, okay. Jacko hated it when people were afraid of him, and he really hated people who were afraid of clowns.
Wait,
Well,
wait, wait, wait,
I
wait.
guess you hate everyone then.
No, how rare is it that for someone to be not afraid of clowns in general, but of this clown specifically?
Yeah.
I mean, because there's like what they said about what 7 clowns there.
And also, you gotta raise. I also had to kind of raise the question of this guy is so brazenly psychotic and God, God knows what is going through his head while he's planning on killing this woman. But
Right.
the one thing that stops him is a fear that can only best be described as somewhat childish in nature. I'm not saying that people who are afraid of clowns are childish, but you have to admit, out of all things to be afraid of, it's kind of low on the scale. Because what's the likelihood of you running into a clown in your day-to-day life?
Yeah, no, not a lot,
Besides politicians.
unless you happen to, of course, live in New Clown City.
uh,
No,
well, the girl,
major population center run by the 5 clown families.
I was gonna try to do a Wu-Tang Clan reference, I couldn't think of one. They're just nothing to fuck with, I'm sorry.
By the way, I think it was one of the few Mad TV sketches I kind of enjoyed. They did a Wu-Tang Finance.
Oh yeah. No, that was a Dave Chappelle skit.
Oh, that's right, it was.
That's why you enjoyed it, even though it was MTV.
Yeah, because Dave Chappelle was great. He still is.
Yeah, you seen pictures of him recently?
Yeah,
The dude's jacked to shit. I guess that's what smoking does for you.
well, he looks good.
So I don't know. Like he has these special cigarettes where he breathes in and his muscles inflate or something.
Okay, yeah, I wanted
Okay.
to look it up just to clarify for our audience in case, to make sure we get it factual, what I said earlier. The photos they said R. Kelly had were of the same girl that was in the sex tape.
Okay, I'm not saying that that's much better, but to be
It makes more sense.
yeah, I don't think I wouldn't say he's a pedophile. I think he just made a mistake because I don't think anyone knew that the girl was 14.
Well, no, what they accused him of, what he can be accused of most accurately is hebephilia,
Yeah.
which is attraction to underage girls who aren't like, like children, like very very young.
And that's somewhat reprehensible too, but
Oh yeah, it's equally reprehensible.
I wouldn't say it's as bad. But that's like saying that eating shit is not as bad as getting stabbed and eating shit.
Yeah. Oh crap! They indicted him on 21 counts.
Back to the story.
Wow.
he The man stabbed Jacko in the stomach and the chest over and over, slamming away at him clumsily as his hands were shaking from fear. But it didn't work. Jacko didn't get hurt. He didn't bleed. Nothing happened. It's just like Uncle Woody said. Clowns are like cartoons. You can't hurt them. They always come right back up for more. Well, thanks to this story, there's going to be a bunch of people going out stabbing clowns, thinking nothing's going to happen. I condemn this story.
Think about all the children who are going to drop 2-ton weights on clowns just to see if they spring back like in the cartoons.
Think of how many children are gonna paint roll like caves within on the side of walls and expect clowns to run into them magically.
That'd actually be kind of awesome.
I think fucking WWE even did that joke. No joke. They
Um,
had this character called Hornswoggle. It's like this little person who was
I
like,
know the leprechaun.
yeah, and there was a moment where he was in a feud with two guys named Carlito and Chavito, and I swear this is true. He got paint, painted a hole in the wall, and walked through it magically. And WWE wonders why their audience is pretty much disappearing nowadays.
Oh my god. Read the next sentence.
Jacko slammed his beer bottle over his head, shattering it, knocking the man to the ground and making him drop his knife. The man's face was covered in broken glass. It's oh my god, the CZW the comment I made earlier is actually starting to ring true now.
I just kind of picture Jacko, like, I get this is a serious scene, and it is kind of cool, I think, that they're showing us that, yeah, the clowns in this universe do have, like, this immortality.
Hmm.
But I just picture Jacko like none of this is happening, and he's just drunk as hell, staggering around and like just beat the mailman over the head or something.
I like to imagine that he doesn't even notice he's getting stabbed. Like he's drinking, and he's drunk. His like as he's slowly processing what's happening, like all that what I just read about him, like oh that guy's everything I hate. He's thinking all that in real time as he's being stabbed, and he's still drinking, trying to mull over what to do. Hey, wait a minute! I don't like you. Psh! The man's face was covered in broken glass. He was screaming even louder than now and begging Jacko to stop, but Jacko was too mad. He hated this man so much it made him sick, so he threw up. He hated this man so much he didn't want him to exist anymore. He wanted him dead. That's when Jacko picked up the man's knife. He stabbed the man over. Oh, can you just? I don't know. The fact that you keep saying the man over and over again is kind of throwing me off a bit.
And he
He,
seems to use Jacko a bit too much. You can use some more descriptive words.
Jacko likes to refer to himself in the third person. He stabbed
Sure.
the rude man over and over again, blood splashing everywhere. The man yelled and cried out and begged Jack to stop and called for Phelps, but it was called for Phelps, yes. But it
Yeah.
was a quiet night and no one was around. Well, people are around. This is just another day at the circus, basically.
Yeah, no, people are around, but they're too busy lighting the big top on fire and trying to fight their way out.
Why did they do it? Well, it's Sunday.
No, 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 just like I picture in the background, like the sounds of screaming, shouting, like AK-47s going off, nuclear missiles being launched.
The dragons from Skyrim roaring as they burn things to the ground.
Yeah, let's see. What else can we do? The HK droids from Star Wars land and start tearing up the place.
And Donald Trump making a speech. That's the joke of the episode. Like, comment, subscribe.
Yes, it is. Well, no, Donald Trump is the joke of the episode.
The man's cries for help were smothered by the sound of him gurgling up his own blood and choking on it. The Jacko stabbed the man over. Yes, we've been over this until he stopped moving. The Jacko felt the life drain out right out of the man, and he died.
Wait, so he died, then he died.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Jacko stood up, his suit and jacket covered from head to toe in gooey red blood. That's not the word to use in circumstances like this. He looked over to the woman who was trembling in fear. He didn't know what to say to her. But he soon found he didn't have to say anything. The woman ran over and hugged him. And then she was immediately repulsed because she got blood all over herself. She
No,
wrapped
I'm
her.
kind of reading through this story. I don't know what to think of it.
It's kind of dull, actually.
Um, yeah, just keep going, and I'll
Okay,
weigh in.
we'll see. We'll see if it actually ends up anywhere. She wrapped her arms around him and squeezed him tight. She was so happy. life. He was a hero. She wouldn't be alive right now if it wasn't for Jacko. Just then,
Oh, okay, I'll give him that probably. Yeah.
just then, Jacko felt something crawl on his face he had never done felt before in his life. A smile.
But
Is this a like a is this like a ghettoized version of Grinch Stole Christmas? And they say Jacko's heart grew 3 sizes that day.
wait a minute. Yeah, the very upset clown who never had any fun while all the rest of the good people down in Clownville were entertaining all the happy little children and people until Jacko murdered a man with a knife and someone was mildly grateful to him. And then his heart grew 3 sizes that day.
He was smiling for the first time ever. A real smile, not a forced one, not a mean one, a real happy smile. One where you could look at someone right in the eyes and tell they really meant it. It was a soft, curvy smile. It was the first real smile he ever had. We've been over that. It was the first happy memory he ever had, violently murdering somebody.
No, one hug. One hug.
He choked back tears and hugged the woman right back. He was so happy. He wanted the moment to never end. And then he woke up in the alleyway, hugging a dead cat. And then right next to him was like a hobo that he had stabbed to death.
No, actually, he just wakes up in like a huge pool of his own vomit. Like,
Uh,
nope, just a dream again.
no, the stabbing sensation he felt was the heroin needle, like constantly missing in his drunken stupor. Oh, where's the vein?
Actually, he
I
wakes up
can't,
like
I can't see it with all this pain on my arm.
he wakes up in like a friggin' El Salvador.
He wakes up in a North Korean holding cell. Ah, damn it, Jacko, you've done it again.
How are we gonna get out of this one?
Tune in next time for the adventures of Jacko the Clown.
Jack, Jacko the binge drinking clown.
Does every week him waking up somewhere, how the hell did I get in Antarctica? And where are my pants?
No, that's it. He's like Popeye, but beer is his spinach.
Except it does the opposite. He thinks he's just beating up the enemy, and then he wakes up somewhere new and bizarre.
No. He thinks he's beating up the enemy, and he comes to, and he's like throwing someone out the window of a plane.
I will Jacko is defeating the Japanese mafia, and then he wakes up and he's inside a coffin. Like, oh dang it, Jacko! I gotta
I would
punch
watch
myself
this
out
show.
like Kill Bill.
I would watch this show.
Yeah. The very the very next day, Jacko was on stage, ready to perform. The children were very frightened, just like they were every day. But Jacko wasn't upset. He'd come to expect it. Then he remembered Uncle Woody's advice. Think of a happy memory, and your smile will be real. Now, he finally had a happy memory. For the first time, Jacko smiled on stage. It was a real smile, and the children could tell. They loved it. They all clapped and all the children clapped and cheered. They were so happy. Jacko wasn't a bad clown. He was a happy clown. He could
Actually,
smile.
no. Jacko was apparently just kind of depressed.
Just oh, okay. So this guy has been going through depression all his life. Are you telling me that all he ever needed was a hug? And not just that, but
Apparently.
apparently all the people who are around him, who love and care about him, never hugged him once.
Right, that's right. Either that or he hates clowns as much as everybody else does.
So he's a self-hating clown. You filthy clowns! You're stealing money from the government.
Jacko, you could have been a harlequin like over in Venice, but no. You had to go be a clown instead.
Stop wasting our tax dollars, you bastards! You're paying
Also,
for your
you
clown
got
college.
yourself locked in the refrigerator again.
Jacko ain't locked in here. He's preparing for the nuclear blast. I saw it on a movie. What was it called? Alien Resurrection.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, this guy is my new favorite character next to Masturbation Man.
Yeah, yeah.
He could smile, dance, perform, but make it. Jacko was so happy. He jumped, he giggled, he danced, he played with the other children. He had a wonderful time. It was the best show the circus had done in years, and it was all because of Jacko.
Wait,
All
wait a minute. Wait a minute.
that's bullshit. They all pull their weight.
I just said, but isn't the circus just chock full of different acts like most circuses?
Yeah, but apparently Jacko was the one thing that this whole show was missing.
Right. All it needed was a homicidal, depressed, binge drinking clown.
Could have called Krusty for that. All the other clowns were so proud of Jacko. Everyone in the circus was. And the animal trainers, the acrobats, the jugglers, the freaks. Oh, what?
Huh?
The
Oh wow.
Freaks. Was that the band, the
Okay.
Freaks?
Is Jacko really gonna call anybody a freak?
I just imagine this guy looking like an angry version of Dropsy, and he's like, oh, you guys are fucking ugly.
No, I just picture like a bald, mildly overweight man in like a wife beater and like blue jean standard belt with like just really halfway done clown makeup on, holding a lager.
Waking up, like, dangling from the Empire State Building on a crane with his feet tied up. And
Ah, shit.
someone saying, like, well, watch Jacko escape this amazing thing a la very Houdini. Ah, god damn it. How did I get myself into this mess now?
Oh, great. Now the Joker's got me in a giant oven, gonna bake me into a pie. Fuck.
How you gonna... Okay, Jacko, how are you gonna get out of this one? That's just like a repeating catchphrase. Oh, dang it, Jacko, you done it again.
Alright, wait a minute. Let me just, use one of my clown around.
It's a good thing I went to that contortionist school.
Here, let me, use one of my clown orangs, like just close your bottle at the oven door.
He wakes up in the middle of the ocean surrounded by sharks. God damn it, where's my bat
I
shark
love
repellent?
Jacko.
Where's my clown shark repellent? Oh shit, these are hammerhead sharks.
Here, wait a minute.
Hello?
No, just like grabs one of the sharks and starts pouring vodka on it.
Starts eating it.
This is all I got.
That's all I know how to do. Blame my father. I just imagine he visits his father in the wrestling home. You used to abuse me. Son, I was a butcher. Your mom left when you were 5. Like, no, I remember it vividly. You used to beat the shit out of her. No, that was a piece of meat I was pounding. I was tendering. What the hell are you talking about? Ah, it's all your fault, Dad. And he visits his mom, and and apparently
Wait,
what?
you basically just described
Kind of bringing up a bit. What was that?
you just described half the plot to Psychonauts.
Huh. I love Psychonauts.
You just described half the plot to Psychonauts.
Uh,
Yeah, no. Spoiler for a game that's like 12 years old. Yeah, spoiler for a game that's 12 years old. The main villain's motivation is that his father was an abusive butcher, or so we thought. We never really get that confirmed. Uh,
hold on.
Villain.
All right. Sorry about that, everyone. Technical difficulties. We're back. The freaks, the dancers, the stuntmen, the strongmen, even grumpy old Mr. Galatio was proud of him. You mean were? It was the happiest day in Jacko's life, and he knew they'd only get happier because he didn't just have one memory. He keep getting new ones every day.
Well, that's nice.
Okay, that's cool. The clowns threw a big party for big after party for Jacko afterwards to celebrate. There were balloons, there was cake. It was a great time. But out of the corner of his eye, Jacko noticed something he didn't like seeing. It was a bad child, being rude, yelling at his parents, behaving badly, and making the visitors upset. He was a naughty little boy, and the circus was supposed to be a happy place. But Jacko,
Okay, okay, hold on, hold on. I'm just going to uh we've just hit a bit of a logic error here.
yeah.
Okay. It seems that despite being an abused child himself, Jacko almost always sides in these kind of confrontations, if you will, with the parents over the children, right?
Mhm.
First of all, he certainly didn't seem to pay any attention to the fact that the man he killed last night might be a parent, if he has this almost militant attitude on good parents, no
To be
matter what.
fair, to be like, it goes back to what we were talking about the last video, where the difference between sociopathy and like a psychopath in horror
Right,
in fiction. Basically, he has a bizarre chain of reasoning that allows him to justify what he's doing here.
right, because as you're about to see, obviously, he wants to get back at the kid. Don't you think this militancy, it's still a bit of poor writing to make the same character whose whole backstory was he was abused go out and murder children.
Again, I don't I give some leeway to it. My only complaint is that it's I don't feel like this story like I feel like the story is trying to come full circle with something like this, and it doesn't feel that way. If this feels very very forced.
No, no, yeah, honestly, if it had just stopped like right about here, it'd be
Yep.
like a 3 out of 5. It'd be pretty decent.
I wouldn't say that. It's just a like because there's no horror element. Like this story isn't the least bit frightening to me.
No, but it's very interesting, almost in the way that the clown's mindset, even in the third person, is used as a bit of a narrative device. Because we see uh, it allows for the excuse of the usage of simple language or redundancy, and it makes it a fairly interesting writing
Oh,
style.
well,
At
we'll
least,
get well, we'll cover the more of it when we actually get to the end.
yeah,
Um,
now it's about to go straight downhill.
yeah, Jacko. But Jacko didn't. He wrapped his hand around the hilt of his large knife in his pocket and grinned. It wasn't a good smile. It was a wicked, forced smile. The kind he used to have on stage. It was the kind of smile someone has when very naughty thoughts are in their head. Jacko
What?
had some very, very unpleasant. Had something very, very unpleasant on his mind.
Yeah,
He was thinking about watching with the Kardashians after
he,
this.
he he just heard Charlie Puth and Megan Trainor's Marvin Gaye.
Jacko wanted the circus to be a happy place, and since last night he realized if he wanted things to change, he'd have to change himself. He hated all the bad guests who visited the circus. The rude people, the nasty, the mean people.
Here we go.
Considering that they're composed of most of the audience, you're gonna have a hard time killing them all.
No, no, and also from what it seems like, they're doing a well enough job of culling themselves
The people who'd shout and get in fights and throw things, all the people who boo at his friends. We've been over this. All
and
the
throw things
and throw things, grumpy people, old people, but most of all, naughty children who didn't listen to their parents.
and throw things.
He'd fix all of them, one by one. And it would start tonight when he followed the little boy home.
Oh,
Jacko could smile. He could
here we
laugh.
go.
He could make other people laugh. He could do tricks and make all sorts of people happy. But in his heart, he was still a very, very bad clown. Now, see, that last line, I get the sneaking suspicion, and I've done this a lot too. I'm not saying that this was the case. They had the ending quote of this in mind before they wrote the story, and they were wondering what they could write to imply it to. Because if this story had been better, that would have been a very good stinger.
Yeah. Also, uh, it could have been something very cliche. Like I don't know. I'm just working off the top of my head. He misinterprets the happiness he felt on that night, not from saving somebody, but from killing somebody, and sets out to do that again.
Yeah,
Very
that would make for because like certain stories like that, there's an approach to psychosis that I think most people find interesting. When you like, I think that one of the best examples is what was it? American Psycho, the original
yeah.
story, where we read everything from this one character's perspective or the way he sees it, and we're not entirely sure if we're getting a truthful narration to be
Right, right,
and
because it's from the antagonist's point of view, right?
yeah, and seeing how like reading a story like this, seeing how this is basically kind of giving us insight to his perspective, it'll be interesting to see more of how the gears are turning in his head, and and not just that, more interactions between him and characters who for the most part like are grounded down to earth and mean well, but don't understand the kind of psychoses that are going through this character's head. Like they look at him and they just see someone who's mildly depressed, but the narration that's basically explaining what Jacko's thinking, and we get a genuine sense of we would get a genuine sense of fear from the fact that these characters who we might grow to like and appreciate or even relate to don't understand that the person that they're trying so hard to help is so far gone in reality that he's a danger to them.
Right. Well, currently, I think I've mentioned it on the Blue Majora channel, which a fair amount of your viewers watch as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm writing a plot line, storyline, and a script for a video game with Third of Clubs. And
As
I've
am I,
always,
actually.
yeah, I've always been very interested in the sympathetic antagonist. In fact, I deliberately write all of my antagonists, especially for this project, that aren't one shot, like, in the game or so for 30 minutes to act as an arc villain, then done, as sympathetic to some degree. And the whole idea is when you reach the first, I guess you could say, act villain, who has been working against you for what's going to equate to about the first fourth of the game, you find out this character's backstory and that they have had a very unorthodox and even traumatic life, and you play through a series of events, first off as your regular characters and party, and then the exact same events again in control of the antagonist, to
Yeah.
gain a very different viewpoint of what's going on.
See,
Uh,
I understand. Excuse me. I understand, like, because the black and like when you write in pure black and white shades of like no shades of gray, you grow the risk of your audience becoming desensitized towards the conflict that's introduced.
right.
Because if you're gonna write in this kind of one-sided, good versus evil nature, the one thing you need to understand is you have to still have us be able to root for the protagonist. The worst type of stories I read are the ones that uh paint they are think that they're black and white, or and they want to have us side with the protagonist, but the antagonist is the one that makes the most sense, and we can
Right.
is the one we can relate to more. And I'm not saying that you're
Something
like
like,
you're doing that intentionally. Basically, like you're going for more shades of gray thing. But I don't like stories that make us like anything like most stories on the like the Jeff the Killer story, where we're supposed to sympathize with this like Jeff, even though like he murdered his parents, but he's misunderstood. Like I
yeah,
don't.
no, that doesn't work. Um, Specifically what I'm going for with that particular deal, and I hope using the programming software we are, you can program branching paths and such. Because I want there to be this choice therein, and it's something I love to see done in writing, and it's something I picked up from, folks know probably my favorite video game developer by far is BioWare.
What did they
Because I
develop
love
again?
their Mass Effect, Knights of the Old Republic, Star Wars The Old Republic, Dragon Age.
Oh, okay.
Because I love their storytelling style. I want to do almost an unorthodox moral choice. I'm gonna have to work it into the narrative deliberately, where basically there's this antagonist, right, that you've been made at least sympathize with somewhat, who has been exploited for a very, very long time, and you can either do the traditional moral choice, quote unquote heroic thing, and kill an antagonist who's not entirely responsible for their actions, or do something that's going to make the protagonist or the player hopefully feel way more uncomfortable and way more uncertain, and go instead after the quote-unquote person who has, up until that point of the story, supported them and is remaining a very friendly character, but has caused all of that person's hardship.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I would like to read the comments.
Oh,
I,
yeah,
I,
okay.
I think like we'll talk about this another time. I'll invite you on to Shooting the Breeze so you can better elaborate on this. But like for the most part, We have a tendency to derail conversations
Yeah,
with
we
just
do.
conversations.
Um,
So
so
let's just get back to this. From Rom next, I wish there was an explanation on how crowns can't be hurt. But other than that plot hole, great pasta.
uh,
It's
again,
not.
I'm not
And
terrible.
Dr. Bleed actually makes a comment that I don't entirely disagree with. He responds to that. Sometimes it's a whole lot scarier if you don't explain it. I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I would like to point out that's not the plot hole that the story to me is just kind of dull.
Um, to
And
me,
the
go ahead.
and I think the problem kind of comes in the fact that it doesn't really take advantage of the style that it's going for. It's just very it's simplistic stylistically so, but the what happens within that story, like you get some redundancy and whatnot, and redundancy in simplistic stories makes sense from a childish perspective, right?
Which is definitely what this character had.
Which is what it had. But then you have it like that Jacko kind of like smoking and drinking and whatnot, and it's like, this it doesn't mend well in my opinion.
No, if anything, you think he'd be like a, and it'd make the overall character a bit creepier if he was big into like ice cream and cookies and all that, like very more childish things.
Because like in some situations when it comes to, and I talked about it before, and it's kind of going back on what I'm going. There's an exception to the rule in my opinion. Sometimes the
Mhm.
more you sympathize with the a villain in a horror story, the more it touches upon the uncanny valley. Because a character like Jacko, who clearly, like as we're suggesting, has clear amount of mental trauma and is extremely
Right.
regressed in his tendencies. Like he's like we described, like he'll be into milk and cookies, he'll be maybe coloring, and he's homicidal tendency. Like he's like a kid who never got to grow up and have a good childhood. It's
Right.
like
And it's already made pretty clear in the actual story that he doesn't exactly understand fully the concept of death or murder.
like that would add a rather odd, like it would be a tragic element. We would want to sympathize with him, but it also touches upon the uncanny valley where it's something that people can recognize, but it's also unnerving to see someone who, as I said before, is so far gone that they don't understand, or they don't choose not to understand what they're doing, why what they're doing is wrong. Like
Yeah.
him stabbing people, I think the movie sucks. The movie I'm about to point out sucks. It's a movie called Chappie.
Yeah.
I think you probably already heard about it. It sucks the muffler off chrome off of doorknobs. But their character, they're talking to this robot named Chappie, and they're describing basically killing people, but they're using the most, they're basically dancing around using the word kill, and basically saying that, oh, they're going, this is just to put them to sleep for a while. And
Yeah.
seeing a character who has a very childlike perspective, a perspective on everything, and him going around murdering people, thinking that, oh, you go to sleep now, and like that's unnerving.
Yeah. It
That's
really is.
disturbing. And this story should have gone for something like that, but this guy knows what he's doing. He's just a jackass.
Yeah, or a Jacko ass, if you will.
God damn it!
um, no, to be perfectly fair, as far as creepypasta go, it's an interesting concept and it's an
Definitely.
interesting narrative style. Uh, and it certainly could
Execution
have been.
thoroughly lacking, in my opinion.
Yeah. The one point I'll give it, and this is not saying it's good. It's just something I'm surprised to see. Grammar very solid throughout. Uh, uh
And it's one of those situations, like we said, the narrative is so we can glance over most, if we were to find any grammar mistakes, because that's how some people speak. The way you
yeah.
speak and the way you write are entirely different things.
I would say I agree with you. If you're going to go for this more childish mindset, characterize Jacko with his mannerisms and hobbies and all such as a bit more childish. Because, to be frank, in any type of horror setting, things associated with childhood or children, particularly when they're associated with the supernatural elements or the horror, are usually very unnerving because they touch back on memories and experiences we almost universally have as little children. You know,
Not just that, but
uh,
the one uh, thing, like childhood is perceived with this sense of purity and innocence, and to see someone tainted at
and
such
then
an early age,
distorting that.
yeah, it's like when you see those kind of like things about child. Like you can look up children violently murdering people, and it's like, oh my god, what the fuck?
Yeah, no, some serious mental issues there. But what I'd say for the story is also either change it around to where Jacko develops this notion that only violence or killing will make him happy again.
This is a weird comment from Dr. Blade. I could be wrong, but I think maybe the fatal flaw with this story is that everyone ended up loving Jacko so much that they all hated seeing him be consumed by the evil in his heart. I'm not sure of whether that's not good or bad. Are we reading the same story, bro?
No, we're really not apparently
I
because
didn't
again,
love Jacko at the end. I love the Jacko we made up.
yeah, Jacko again he doesn't come up. Remember, and this is coming from someone who does not believe in an actual concept of evil as a catch. Jacko does not fit even the storytelling descriptor for that. He's mentally ill.
Yeah.
And he, like I said, either have him develop this almost compulsive need for violence in order to feel happy again, or you wouldn't have a creepypasta, but you'd have a decent story. Cut
I'm at.
off the last few paragraphs and have him kill the dude. Maybe even make it a bit more violent, or and this is coming from me, and I don't like my excessive violence or something like that. Make it a bit more visceral, and then have him be happy and do much better at the circus and all that, and you have a somewhat interesting, mildly disturbing story.
I,
Again, not great either way, but you've got something better either way.
I was I'm intending to write an actual Jeff the Killer story. Just I
Hmm.
want to do the first Jeff the Killer story at the way I do it and see if I can make it salvageable and decent.
Awesome idea.
And one of the ideas I had for the character is that because he has a compulsive need to kill. Like basically after the whole thing that happened, I'm gonna rewrite the whole Randy thing. Basically, Randy's gonna be a friend of his, and Jeff's gonna be kind of hinted at having rather odd urges to begin with. Even though that was an original story, but they never touch upon that for some reason. Um, a compulsive need to kill people, not because it's the one time he actually feels something. Like
Right.
it's also a matter like he feels the memory of his because one of the things in the story he's going to be responsible for his parents' death. He's going to be responsible for the fire, and his
But
family is killed by fire, and his brother died trying to save him.
but the whole concept then of killing to feel alive, basically, something like you see a lot in sociopathy based characters like Dexter Morgan, someone like that.
I always thought Dexter was just kind of a prick.
He was, although I'll say this, the actor who played him did a fantastic job.
Yeah. Okay, this pasta really toyed with my heart. I thought maybe, just maybe, Jacko would be a good clown, and do you listen to yourself and not have to kill any more people? But excuse me, I have no idea what the hell I would. Great story, 8 out of 10.
Okay, I'm just going to put this out here because it brought up a point I've been meaning to make for some time. You can still have a horror story or a horror film that has a relatively happy or at least optimistic ending, and they can still be good. Creepypasta authors don't understand that. They really don't.
Yeah.
It's
Uh,
like, look, sometimes, yeah, like in several of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, you have a horrific chain of experiences. Not saying they're scary, because they're not, but I mean, they are counted among, the quote-unquote horror classics.
fuck you.
Well, lots of folks say they are. I'm just going off
No,
of that.
I like them. That's what I'm saying.
I do too, but
They
I don't
are
think
horror
they're
classics,
scary.
you bastard.
I don't think they're scary, but I like them.
You bastard.
So you have this series of horrific events. You have a murderer out and all that. They stop him. At least some of the characters do. They survive. They move on, and you've still got a pretty solid horror story.
I can't remember what it was. I think there was one horror story, you bastard. I read at one point where basically they suffered through that, and we were taken from an. No, it was a story where these students were planning to kidnap their teacher to frighten him, because he was
Mhm.
basically overly militant and very strict with them. And it was the idea of like a very sociopic friend of theirs to kidnap and whatnot, but they ended up killing him by accident.
Oh,
And basically, like they're like in the end, essentially, there's an epilogue because they get caught and they admit to what they did, and there's an epilogue that pretty much details on how, like, even a more popular story, I Know What You Did Last Summer, has something along
yeah,
that lines, like the original one, not the shitty movie.
right.
Like, there's no zombie fisherman in the book. Let me put it to you like that.
Um,
I'm
what's
reading. Oh, sorry.
along that line that it reminds me of I watch Supernatural a lot. I think it's quite a good show. Uh, One of the early episodes centers around a town being terrorized by a ghost in a lake, and you find out. Obviously, I don't mind spoiling this because this is for one of the very first episodes of the show.
Hmm.
You find out. Uh, Obviously, you know these the two guys, the stars of the show, Sam and Dean Winchester. Uh, they don't have any kind of government jurisdiction, none of that, so they have to convince local authorities to work with them, right?
Yeah.
The sheriff is very dismissive, all that. You find out later on, uh, the ghost is a little boy that the sheriff and a couple of his friends drowned and killed back when they were children.
Oh my God. It's
And
Ben.
so, not exactly. It's just trying to drag all those people out into the lake and drown them so it won't be lonely anymore, and so it'll have revenge.
I don't know why that reminds me of that Doctor Who episode with the kid in the gas mask.
Are you my mummy?
I love
Yeah.
that. I love that episode so much.
Yeah, I also think Christopher Eccleston generally did a pretty good job as the Doctor.
I like him. I don't know. I haven't seen anything past season one because everyone kept telling me I don't like Rose Tyler, and
I do.
I can't stand. I like Billie Piper, the actress. I can't stand the character.
I think Billy Piper did a good job, but my favorite companion period on the show was what was her name? Free Agumon as Dr. Martha in season 3.
I need to. Well, bear in mind, I haven't seen anything past season one. I'm reading all the pastas nominating this month. The pastas nominated this month to decide who to vote for. While I did like this pasta, I felt something was missing. Some sort of substance to keep me invested at the beginning. Also, there were some cliches as such the protagonist being a bad guy, and awful childhood parents, and such. But I don't understand the clowns can't be hurting. Clowns are scary, so good job on that. You're gonna give it. Okay, I don't think that quite works.
Also, I don't get seen a rating on this wiki unless it was like on Troll Pasta Wiki that was below a 7.
Isn't that's weird, isn't it? Even the Troll Pasta Wiki has a rating system.
Wait,
This, well,
wait a minute. Wait a minute. Does IGN run this website?
no, because I actually like the people who run it.
I,
That's
I I like some of the folks at IGN.
I like some of them when they stopped working for there. Okay, okay. This is a very good pasta. Excellent writing, plot, and characters. Usually, creepy crowns are very overused. Not really, actually.
No, not as much as you'd think. They were in the 80s, I want to say, but that's died down.
I would. It's the fact that very few people really use them appropriately. I think, and the ending is unsatisfying, but it's good. There's something I don't know missing. There's a part that doesn't belong. It does isn't it fit isn't it isn't fit to be the ending. But overall, good story, good plot and characters. Clap clap, 10 out of 10.
Okay, look,
The story is flawed, but it's perfect.
right, that's exactly what they're saying. Like, case in point, music and video games are my thing, right?
Hmm.
Whereas I think you actually focus on the fiction side of this, or the writing, more than any of us at Blue Major anymore. But
Nowadays.
I'll say this. What's one of my favorite games? Something like Metal Gear Solid 5, right?
Hmm.
Uh, if I were to rate that based off of my personal feelings towards it, of course it'd get a 10, But if I were to rate it completely honestly, it'd get something like a 9.25, solely because when you have that much going on in a game, there's a few things that aren't going to be perfect if you do so much, right? Now, contrast that to something like God of War, which I enjoyed still. I thought it was very well done, and I would objectively give that a 10 out of 10 because it goes for a couple things and it does them perfectly.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't know
so,
when it comes to reviewing certain, like I rate essentially based on like in bad creepypasta critique or creepypasta critique, excuse me. Uh, I rate essentially based on how much the story actually managed to affect me or make me feel something.
right.
Boredom is a very big turnoff, which is I don't care for the story. Um, because to me, the story just like in terms of aversion to gore and violent things like that, I think I'm a little bit more tolerant of that than you are.
Yeah, yeah, considerably.
But well, bear in mind, I didn't grow up in a violent household, but I lived next to a ghetto. Like the street I was on, turn to the
Hmm.
right, go one block, go downhill, ghetto. That's basically what it was, and I was used to. I understood things like that from a very young age. Uh, I'm not saying I was exposed to it, but I understood it. I had classmates, and I would hear teachers talking about them coming from violent households. Like a friend of mine,
Yeah.
her mother beat her until she was like with a hot iron or something.
Holy shit!
Yeah, basically, I knew people who went through that, and I think that's what developed my when it comes to stories like this because it's when I know some people unintentionally glorifying it. I'm not saying that they do, because I don't want to make it out so they actually they do this intentionally, but they do it and they go a little bit overboard or describe it in the loosest terms. I understand then and there that those people don't really know what it means to be in that situation, or they have never don't know anyone who's been through a situation like that. They're trying their best
Yeah.
to describe something like that because it's one of those things where if you don't describe it in such a way, people might think that you're just using it for the sake of basically get shock value, which
So,
essentially you are. But in the end, I don't. I'm numb. Like I said, I'm numb to it. I don't mind it being there. I just want it to have a point. It's the reason
and the
why I dislike.
story,
I'm sorry. The reason why I dislike so snuff bombs work so badly is the fact that it's all of that. It's just blah blah murder, kill, murder, murder, torture, kill, rape, and it's essentially
like dating games.
yeah.
Uh,
It, it's
you really
it's
didn't
there for the sake of
need
being there.
all of that.
I understand that's mostly your because you have a strong sense of empathy when it comes to people, and I have the same. I'm a similar thing. I'm very empathetic towards situations that people go through and whatnot. But to me, it's not enough to simply write about how hard a character has it, or describe how violent he's getting beaten or
Well,
anything
yeah,
like
you.
that.
What my feelings for
Hey there, hello.
yeah, maybe if you had to do something like that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Uh, I would say add more.
Hmm. Okay, we're gonna have to pause again.
I'm here.
Once okay, we're back. Once again, technical difficulties. Brady, I want to close this
Yeah.
video off. So, can you? What are your final
Yeah.
thoughts on this whole thing?
Uh, it's a valiant effort. It really could use some tightening up on the ending, but then again, most creepypastas I read do. Grammatically sound, I found it very intriguing, and if we're going with the Jim Sterling review scale, where
Uh,
5 is actually the true average, this gets a 6.25 out of 8. Good try, good try.
so I pretty much summed up everything I have to say about this. I find it rather dull. It's an interesting concept, but the execution is severely lacking. Not enough attention went into certain details that really should have been put in there. So if you like the story or if you've read this yourself or like basically the link is going to be in the description below as always, so by all means tell me what you think of it, tell me what you think that could have been done to improve it. I'm always open to talk about certain things like that. So this has been Vince 12 and the Overanalyst signing off. Y'all have a nice day, and go watch the new Super Mario Bros. Z reboot.
Oh yeah, and my last comment to close this out on that I want our audience to appreciate. Unlike a lot of what we cover on any of the BM channels, this story did have a lot of effort.
Yeah.
So credit to that. Yay for effort.
Okay. Well, bye everybody, and
Take care.